Hello, welcome to my stream today. Going to be talking a bit about Astro, the relatively newish MPA static site generator. Um, and we're going to kind of look at it, how it works with Solid. Well, I'm waiting for people to join up on the stream here. Going to do what I usually do, talk a little bit about what's been going on this week in JavaScript. And the funny thing is, it's kind of on topic. A lot of conversation still going on about this MPA versus single page app thing. I actually listened to a podcast today with Rich Harris, kind of giving his thoughts, and he had an interesting conclusion where he was saying he actually didn't see ultimately the point of going multi-page app unless it was to escape the language of JavaScript. And that's a pretty interesting perspective to have. I can see where it's coming from, but in the same podcast, he also managed to basically say that we need to focus on other things other than performance and looking at developer experience. And one of the interesting things is I think multi-page apps for simple sites are going to get there in terms of developer experience a lot sooner while being able to deliver that performance. So I feel like the gap's going to widen a bit before it actually closes in. By the way, if you guys are joining on right now, say hi in chat so I know that you're there. But yeah, let's see what else happened this week in JavaScript. Actually, this one's more, we'll talk a little bit. We did a little bit of an update with Solid this week, so I could speak a little bit to that. You guys might have seen my article, State of SolidJS, and oh, hi, there you guys, there you all are. Here we go. Big news for us is partnered up with Netlify as an official sponsor. And Netlify has been looking at giving back to open source recently. And as you guys know as well, Solid and Astro, which I'm also covering in this, are sponsored by Netlify. So in a sense, Netlify is sponsoring this episode, if you want to look at it that way. But definitely been excited about that. Yeah, just kind of killing some time while people are joining in here. In general, I've been pretty stoked about what's been happening since the release. So we'll go into a lot of details there. Share some libraries that have been coming out for Solid, and definitely a lot of thanks go out to people in the community already. We in 2 months we've had 10 languages translated for the doc site, which is just amazing. Honestly, I just can't believe it. And obviously some great articles that have come out, like the CSS tricks article, if you haven't checked it out, and some videos, stuff that, could never expect, like just people really getting it. I was always worried when I came out with Solid that people wouldn't get it. So I'm glad to see that, this has been going on. And, as much as some people are kind of, talking about that narrative of Solid versus React, I mean, you can see it from both of these video covers here. The React community themselves have been really supportive, surprisingly, out of everyone, really. When they invited me to speak at React Finland, which was amazing. And also, like, if you just look at the testimonials early in the article, these are people prominent in the React community. So it's interesting. It's maybe not what you'd expect. We've actually had a really good run with voices typically associated with React. So I think people are starting to get it, and that's more than I could ever have hoped for. But yeah, I mean, what this boils down to is where development is heading for Solid, and it's kind of the reason why I wanted to kind of look at Astro here. Hello, Theo. Is that that basically server-side rendering has kind of become the focus the last couple of years, regardless of what you're looking at in terms of framework. And there's lots of different ways to slice it. As I mentioned that talk earlier with Rich Harris, he was talking about how SvelteKit could support like the 5 or 6 different modes. You can make static routes, you can add JavaScript here, not add it here. And this kind of control and flexibility are ultimately what you want, but it's also one of the hardest things to explain, right? And basically, I think it's really interesting to see this kind of return to web fundamentals when looking at how we approach server-side rendering. And basically, it's different this time, right? I think the biggest thing that's kind of hung up this kind of multi-page app versus single-page app discussion is that the parties involved aren't really seeing eye to eye too much. Basically, how should I put this? Rich wasn't wrong in characterizing that the discussion was between a lot of, proponents, veterans, people who, have the experience, saying, multi-page apps, less JavaScript, has significant benefits. And then, the single page app kind of comes up as almost like the upstart who are trying to, dethrone that. And, they haven't been seeing eye to eye. But to me, the interesting part is you don't have to give up that in order to achieve the same goals. JavaScript on the server is a very viable solution. Obviously, we see stuff like Next.js, but this is also why looking at stuff like Astro, because just because you use JavaScript on the server doesn't mean we need to send more JavaScript to the browser. And that's basically the gist of it today, right? Like that's the concept, right? Single page apps, as I said, you could go the SvelteKit approach where you have the different modes and you can kind of tailor to it, and that'll get refined over time. But what we have today with multi-page apps, that knowledge that that the whole page is not going to get re-rendered again, lets us do sort of level of optimization almost automatically. As many of you know, I also work on the Marco team, and we do this sort of automatic island thing where the compiler detects the boundaries and knows exactly what components need to get shipped to the browser. With Astro, it's a little bit more manual, but that has some benefits because then you get to control how the hydration boundaries work. As I said, I'm pretty familiar with what Astro's done. I've watched all the videos, read the articles, got my head wrapped around it. But the one thing I haven't done until this point is actually go in there and build something, right? And kind of see how it works. In fact, the Solid Astro plugin template, I was barely involved in. People from the community came up and were like, I want to do this, working closely with members of I don't know what to call that team, the Snowpack/Skypack/Astro, that whole Fred and company. Basically, Nate Moore and Trevor, I don't know his last name, Eyelist on Twitter, I could probably pull it up, basically put this whole thing together without practically even talking to me, which is amazing. So I really want to check it out and see what this is all about. What this means, though, is I am walking into this a little bit blind. Like, I get the concepts. I'm very familiar with multi-page apps. I'm very familiar with, the mechanisms behind this, like what we're trying to accomplish. But I am less familiar with any of the specifics. So I got the doc site up here ready to go in case I need it. Fred was nice enough here to share on Twitter a bit earlier exactly these two are the ones responsible for the Solid integration big time, to basically share with me what I need to do to get started. What do we got here? We have some CLI commands. Yes. So maybe that's where we'll get started. Before I get started, anyone have anything to say? Anyone got any questions so far? Anything you guys want to see today? Related to the topics we're talking about. Give myself a little breather here. All right. Well, without further ado, then let's see if I can dig into this, because I'm going to attack this in my normal fashion, kind of reverse engineer it, not completely, but just kind of get a feel for what's going on and just, see what we can do with this. So let me get started by setting up a new project. Let's just call this. I believe I have to make the directory first here, so let's just do that. Let's call it Astro app. Why not? All right. Okay, and then I believe npm init Astro starter. Okay, cool. Okay, that's what I need to do. Npm init Astro. Make my window a little bit bigger so people can see it a bit better. Starter generic log. Okay, interesting, cool. So let's do a starter kit. And this is awesome. Honestly, very much appreciate having Solid in the list here. It's really hard as a new framework to get like ground like this. You spend months on PRs to try and how should I put it, like to try and get traction. I remember there's a custom elements everywhere project, which tells you how well your project works with web components. And understandably, no one had heard of Solid at the time I added Solid, but I was really into web components when I started it. And basically, what ended up happening was I put in this PR for it, and basically I had to wait for the project to grow to get there. It took 2 years for the PR to get merged, and that's kind of the case you have often when you come out as like a new framework. It's hard to get that traction. Luckily, us Solid mainstream and Astro have kind of come up at the same time, so I'm super stoked to basically be an option on the list here, right? All right, so there we go. npm install git init git add. Okay, this is just okay. Yeah, good. That sounds good. What I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to open a new window because that's what I've been doing here with Solid. If I look a little tired today or voice a little, it's mostly that I am very tired today. It's been a long week, and not because, well, mostly because I've been working on a new concurrent model for Solid, basically where it should allow us to have multiple transitions at the same time if they are not entangled. And that's some complicated graph stuff going on there. So I've been working on it every night, and it's got so many bugs that I'm just like almost exhausted, but it's so rewarding. Then I wake up and go to work and work on Marco, where we're working on this new resumable hydration analysis stage for looking at a way of doing scope, where we can basically do out of order hydration so that like components can run before their parents do, but really cerebral kind of problems. And I just kind of bounce back and forth between them. It's awesome because one kind of frees up your mind for the other, but on the other hand, by Friday, you're just like, anyway, let's see what we got here. Okay, so this is our Astro app, and let me get that in here. Okay. I'm hoping you can all see my screen pretty fine here. Let me see if I can make the text in here even bigger. I've had some comments that I don't make my code large enough. I find it really hard. For those of you who know, I was a CoffeeScript developer, and with CoffeeScript, basically, code was so condensed, like it's a complete opposite of TypeScript, that essentially you got used to seeing all your code in one screen. Like you could picture, you could have like a 40-line CoffeeScript file, and in JavaScript, that roughly works out to maybe like 70 lines. But in TypeScript, that might be like, I don't know, 140 lines. Like it basically doubled all the way up. What it meant is I got really used to seeing all my code in one screen. And I'd even kind of go for longer line widths, like 100 instead of like the typical 80. And just so I could just see everything in one page. So it's been a big adjustment when I'm trying to like look at code and have TypeScript types and then like zoomed in and you're like, all you can see is like the small portion. It's like the exact opposite. I like looking at stuff holistically. I think that's the trickiest part about TypeScript. A lot of people say it improves readability because it kind of makes sense of the code. But for me, I like zooming out. I like just it all shrinking away and structurally seeing what's going on first. It lets me see more at a glance. I don't know. Yeah, this is definitely true. Prettier is the thing that changed that. Yeah, definitely. And I was not initially on board with Prettier, I have to admit. But after a while, everyone caves in. I mean, it is good for a reason. So yeah, let's look at this project here. We have our new Astro project. If you've used Astro before, you're already way ahead of me because I honestly don't quite know what I'm looking at yet. But we have a public folder, which I'm gathering is just going to have our assets, pretty standard thing, some global CSS, okay. And we have a source folder, pages, components, standard file-based routing. Ooh, I bet you there's an extension for this. Huh, see, I'm kidding you not. I have not looked at Astro yet. I need to install the VS Code extension here. Will this force me to restart, or will it be fine? Oh, beautiful. I'll worry about dating this stuff later. Okay, so now we have an Astro syntax highlight. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Anyway, God, tab space is 4. This is going to kill me. This is like CoffeeScript all over again. And didn't use the spaces 2. Right, but then I have to. Will I be able to format this? Will it know what an Astro file is? Okay, whatever. I'm not going to let it kill me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is true too. This is great. StackBlitz is really awesome. I haven't really been advertising it. Someone made our Vite setup work with StackBlitz. I haven't really pumped it anywhere, but you can also use Solid with Vite and StackBlitz. The thing is, the day that we got it working, it was kind of working, but then kind of not working. We found out later that it was actually a bug that everyone was experienced, but everyone else went and promoted it on Twitter, and I didn't. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to promote it now. Everyone else did, right? But yeah, no, StackBlitz is very promising, especially for any kind of server-side rendering setup like this, right? It's a game changer for being able to actually have the whole experience in here. So anyway, let's look here. So yeah, HTML entry point, some components, style thing, tour component. Okay, cool. And all right, Astro components, markdown, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and they're perfect. They're actually explaining to me what's going on. And using this markdown thing, I heard about that. Built-in markdown is pretty cool. I definitely think that it's awesome that we can just kind of have this. I think it's essential. They definitely know their audience in terms of figuring out what to do here. Okay, so before we dig too much, let's just see what this does. Right? Is a TS config? That's great. Let's just run it. Yeah. So dev. It's funny. You always have to check this because no one can seem to agree. Is it dev for dev or start for dev or build or what's start when it's not in dev? Preview is preview, which I'm guessing is the after build. I like that they made dev and start both the dev script. So it's like, doesn't matter which framework you came from. Yeah, we're going to catch you, right? So anyways, let's just npm start here and see what we got going on. Okay, so right. Yeah, because it's static building. I got to remind myself of this, right? So am I going to actually see it in the public folder, or is this a dev service? I don't know enough Astro dist. So there's I bet you if I refresh this, I was wondering if I could look and see what's going on. There's also a config file here. Yeah, we'll look at those options. Interesting. Render gone. I did do the solid option, so hopefully it installed it for me at least. Maybe it didn't. Yeah, I did this completely wrong. It's fine. I could probably add it manually. Yeah, there's no solid there. I'm gonna have to look on that. Okay, so let's just run this thing then though. Let's just do what we're doing with Astro. Yeah, I took the solid version, didn't I? Anyway, if we can shrink this down, we don't need any more. Let's see. localhost 3000. Okay, give me a second here. It looks like it's popping up on my wrong window. Okay, get out of full screen mode. Okay, everyone can still see my screen, right? Yeah. All right. So let's just give this a little peek, see what we're dealing with here. Because I'm curious. Okay, so this is like static HTML. Although there was markdown in here, so I'm just curious because I want to. Yeah, all that conversion would happen ahead of time. Yeah, so there's no extra like artifacts or anything you see here. Okay, let's just pull up our dev tools a bit. So, okay. Yeah, I'm going to need to do something more interesting to actually see this. So I'm being told that I set the framework option to blank, which is about right. This is the kind of expert work you're going to see here with me working at this on the first go. So the question is, do I start over again, or do I just look for the renderer? Let's look at our docs and see what they do here. The only thing is I kind of want the template, because I think that'll give me hints of where to get started from. So maybe I will start over again. Yeah, I think I am going to start over again. Let's see how much I can mess with my operating system. I'm just going to delete everything. Good. And then I'm going to see make here. I mean, honestly, this is still better than what happened last week when I lost the screen for 10 minutes, and because I was only streaming on my my laptop, and I couldn't like see that I'd lost the screen. I just kept on going for 10 minutes, and people were like yelling in the chat that they weren't seeing the screen, just seeing me. I had no clue. So improvement here. Okay, let's try this again. npm init Astro. Okay, starter kit. Okay, so is there a toggle? Okay, I see. I just highlighted down to it and then clicked enter. I'm supposed to use a space bar to select it. See? Shows you how terrible I am with CLIs. Honestly, this is the biggest challenge. I've been building a starter for Solid, and I'm I'm not familiar with these. I've always npm install. I've always kind of built my own config and stuff myself. I've never used a starter framework. Not since like way back in the day when we used to skeleton stuff out with like, oh god, I can't even remember what it was. It's like browser5, but it was like, oh, I can't even remember what it's called. It was like 2012 time period. Okay, let's try this again. It's a solid counter. Ooh, and it's JSX. Lovely. I've seen this before. This looks familiar. Okay, let's run this one now, because now that there's a solid counter on it, it is completely different. All right. All right. Yeah. This is taking me back. Yeah. No, there was a whole age before the current age of things. Okay, and then we snuck the solid counter on the bottom, which sweet renders and updates. So let's inspect that. Astro root. It looks almost like a web component. This is interesting. I've web components would be a great way to do this if that's actually the case. You could also just make an element like this and just do it for fun if you really wanted to. But yeah, beautiful. Okay, yeah. Okay, we're gonna have to play with this more, but now at least kind of got a feel for what that looks like. And what else do we want to look at? Let's go back now to our project, because we've all kind of seen this before. Yeah, I mean, I love the counter. Although to be fair, this is the manual counter. This isn't the one where we get to, point at, how did Dan put in his article, egg on the face for React, the set interval example. But counters are everywhere. Counters are fun. I once went on a website where they actually had a counter on their landing page, and it wasn't done in the framework. And I was like really confused because I knew how the framework worked, and I was like, this framework would have to like render everything, and that this counter is not doing that. And then I realized that they just like vanilla JS'd up the counter just to have the counter there, even though it wasn't the framework doing it. Need the counter. Okay, so pages. Okay, so here we go. Tour. Oh, is Solid in the tour? Is that the trick? Where are we? Markdown. Okay, because I'm assuming our counter is called counter, and we imported it somewhere. See, this one doesn't import it. This one doesn't import it. What am I missing? There's definitely a counter on that page. Oh, do you know what it is? It's because I edited out it is on that page. It's because I edited out the white space. When I first got back into JavaScript after using .NET for years back in like 2011, in that CoffeeScript startup I was talking about, we were super zealous about white spaces, and it like drove me nuts. I always have this trailing spaces plugin, so I removed it out and I didn't see the edit. Right, perfect. Client visible, right? Which I think is kind of like default thing. I'm gonna have to look at what these are exactly, but in terms of, they have a bunch of directives on the component. What's really cool is you just import the component and bang, it's there. So I think this is good, and I think we should go and build something, play around with this and see how this works. I mean, I know I'm interested, but I kind of want to know what's going on here first, right? Like, one thing that I don't see here anywhere is Solid's hydration script. So I wonder what's going on. Let's look at the renderer. I think it's in here. I know that there's a custom renderer thing. So if I search, I'm sure there's going to be like a Solid integration. As I said, I haven't got a chance to look at this. I hope it wasn't too much work for the people doing it. Maybe it's under the Astro namespace, right? What do we got? SolidJS. This is, what version of SolidJS are we running today? 1.15, right up to date. Okay, beautiful. But let's try Astro. Aha. Oh, it's interesting. I got the whole crew here. All right. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so yeah, Babel preset. Okay, this is starting to look good. SolidJS node, and then index. What's our index? Interesting. So this client server known endpoints. Okay. Oh, and then and the alias. Yeah, I was wondering. Solid's server-side rendering works off what I call it, export conditions, if you guys are familiar with that. And that, when you're in like a node environment, means it automatically aliases server versions. In Solid, we actually have a client and server version of most of the libraries, because I actually removed the reactive runtime, and we compile differently, do both things. And what this lets us do is, that's how Solid gets such incredible server-side performance, right? If you don't switch out the runtime, I believe it could still work. It depends. But the reactivity, for the web, it wouldn't work. But if you had the client runtime for just Solid, it would still work. But you'd make all these reactive bindings, and it'd be like 10 times slower. I mean, that's probably, you might not notice it, which is the tricky part, because it would be about as fast as Preact or React. But obviously you want to be 10 times faster than that. So let's see here. Yeah, what are export conditions? Yeah, you guys might take a moment to explain this for people who haven't seen it. There's two things here. If I go to Node.js, actually no, I'm just going to show it by going to GitHub and show you guys what I'm talking about. Because if you look up in the docs for Node, it's here. But what I want to show you is if you go into package.json, Preact does this too. Not this one, the actual one, sorry, learn a repo. Let me make this a little larger so people can see what's going on. If you go into Solid's package.json, you'll notice that there's this exports object, right? And while Solid has, main and module, this is the common JS module, and this is the JavaScript module, and then some browser aliasing stuff here. This is another way to support like Jest to get the server versions and stuff. This is a beautiful thing. What you can do is for each module, and actually we have submodules here like store and like web, you can set these kind of keywords, and you can actually change what gets imported based on those keywords. And there's a default one at the bottom here, which is just solid. But what's really cool is that a lot of environments recognize browser and Node itself. If you're actually running on Node, it will just apply that export condition. So it'll just go, oh, here you go. Here. And so when you import dot, which is SolidJS, just the plain package, it'll actually import server.js in the ES case and then require a CJS version of it. And this is true for everything like web. We have a server version, same deal. And you don't have to do anything. Now, when you use rollup, the bundle or ES build or whatever, Webpack, they actually have options where you can go export conditions. I made a PR to Snowpack to support this. I think it got really complicated, and while it got merged and didn't get through. So that's probably why there's that alias field that they have there. But this works in Vite, which is what Astro is moving to. So I'm sure this will not be a problem in the future. But generally, this is just a lovely way built right into the package.json of doing aliasing so that you as the end user always just import from SolidJS or SolidJS/web, and we handle it. And it lets me do really cool tricks. Right, exactly, yeah. It lets me do really cool tricks because like we can export an is server from the client or the server bundle. And it can be true or false. We don't have to do any window type checking or all that. We literally know that it's client or server. And what that does is it's a Boolean and it's like static. It can see that it never gets assigned. So tools like Rollup can just go, oh, if something is behind this, like it's if is server and it knows that it is always false, it will just eliminate that code from your bundle. Like you don't have to worry about getting server-side stuff on the client. It will just disappear out of your bundle. When you have constants like that, rollup is incredibly smart. I leverage that all over the place. That's how I, like if you don't use transitions in Solid, or sorry, it's a little trickier than that. I recommend everyone puts transitions in their like libraries, like the router, like design systems. But if you don't use suspense, even if there's a transition there, I'm able to code eliminate the whole thing out of the core. The reactive system actually just strips out like hundreds of lines of code for transitions and concurrent rendering right out of the core, because as long as you only write to it inside a tree shakenable import, it basically can see that it's impossible to ever be set anything but the initial value. And if that initial value is false, something like rollup can just go, no, get rid of it. So yeah, incredibly powerful to use in combination like this. So anyway, yeah, there's the deeper technical thing. I also use this for dev mode. See, development. It's just useful for everything, right? If you want to do minified builds or different things. We also use this actually for third-party libraries. We recommend that you use a solid export to export the JSX directly. That way that you can have two different exports. You have the main one, which is the compile for the client, so everyone can use it, because Solid works without a compiler. You can do it purely runtime with Hyperscript or tag template literals, similar to lit HTML. It's actually the second most performant tag template literal approach. It's it's definitely an approach much more performant than the standard popular ones. And you can use that, and as long as someone compiles their stuff pre-client, you can just use Solid there. But if you also use the Solid export and send out the JSX, this way we'll know, and I build it into our library packages, and maybe something I can consider here once they support export maps, we'll be able to compile the JSX for you automatically. And what's great about this is much better than using stuff like process.m or whatever, because it's like a universal mode switch. People don't have to like worry about other weird hacks and patches. And yeah, honestly, export maps or it's not export maps. I think it's called conditional exports, are amazing. Anyway, sorry, little ramble. Side note, always a teaching opportunity here, right? Okay, so let's continue. So yeah, where was I? I was talking about export maps, so we don't have that, but that's fine. So we alias, and then Babel preset solid. If it's SSR, do SSR or DOM, and okay, hydratable isn't here. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, server side rendered string async. Okay, that's an interesting choice. I guess, there's a little limitation of Solid today that I don't think we could really support fully multiple suspense rendered like auto serialization endpoints in a Astro app. Astro has islands, like multiple entry points, and I think I've only set it up so that you can do full suspense and data in a single island. But maybe we'll test that if we get a chance. But that's cool. Then you create the component, and then this is how they inject the children. Okay, this is actually clever. They're using Solid's internal SSR string to kind of stringify the children that come in, and then works. Okay, yeah. So this looks pretty straightforward. You just get the HTML and return it. Yeah, that's dirt simple. I don't feel as guilty now about not helping people with this. I know a lot of work went into this, and Nate had said that they had to completely change their JSX solution to support Solid here, because JSX is kind of ambiguous in terms of what libraries do with it. To be fair, it obviously made Preact and React better in the process, but really cool that they took the time to come up with a solution that works with Solid. As I said, between fine-grained reactivity and like special handling of JSX, there's always like tools that are like, we're framework agnostic, and like my luck with those is pretty low. Astro might be actually the first one that I've come across that actually works apparently here with framework agnostic for Solid. Out of the box, it's usually like there's always issues. So I'm pretty stoked about this. I mean, okay, so where do I go next? Okay, static HTML. Okay, yeah, I don't know what this is, but actually one thing I just noticed here. SolidJS Web. This one's not using the server alias. I wonder, it's probably pulling it in from the client. You know what though? We export create component here, so maybe this might just be better. So now we're not doing anything weird, but I don't know what static HTML is. I'm gathering this is server rendered still, so I'm kind of tempted. I don't know for sure though. I'll leave this for now. Maybe it's not a big deal. Let's continue on. Let's look at client. Oh, okay. Okay. This makes more sense. Well, I'm glad I took a look today. What we have here is it looks like our base plugin here is actually rendering, it's rendering and re-rendering the client. So basically you render on the server, and then it wipes all the elements, and then it re-renders in the client afterwards. So it does a server rendering, and then it re-renders. So you get that like flicker effect. It's not actually doing hydration here. I wonder if there's a snag they hit. I might want to look at that. That might be something fun. I don't know if anyone on the stream would be interested in seeing if we can actually get this hydrating, or if that's like too technical of a task. But I said I'm pretty open to do whatever anyone here feels like doing, because I have no script. I'm really kind of getting into this for the first time, so I think we could do it. This looks like it's really easy to use. I think they've done a really good job here in terms of interface. So I don't know. Any opinions? Anyone on the stream? I'm gonna take a sip for my drink here. Okay. Sure. I'll take this as okay. Yeah, let's see what we can do here. Let's look, because this looks straightforward enough that yeah. The cool thing about hydration is no, it's not quite that simple. See, I noticed something earlier, and I was kind of wondering about it. But I didn't say anything, and what I noticed earlier was that this never we have an option here that's called what is it? Hydratable true, I think. You know what? Let's just double check DOM expressions. Let's see here. What was it? The best documentation for any well set up project is in its tests, right? Let's see here. Hydratable true. Okay, my memory is not useless. Okay. Let's go back across to our app here. Okay, so hydratable true. Okay, so that's only part of the problem, or part of this situation though, because I'm pretty sure. Let's just run this. I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, there's another thing we do. We don't need to replace the children. I imagine I'm gonna take a guess here, but I'm gonna imagine this is gonna complain about some missing script. But let's see what we got here. Let's run this again. What is it? I'm getting started. All right. See, as I said, okay. Okay, no, that can't be. It can't be that easy, right? I mean, it's working still. I bet you there's something cached. We can confirm this actually though pretty easily. I wonder if it auto minifies in dev mode. Let's look at what we have in our dev tools here. Visible, client, assets, Snowpack, package, solid. Okay, so here's the library. Okay, and then components, solid counter. All right, so what do I see? This now is hydratable output, I can tell. And what else is interesting here? So we are getting the hydratable input, but that would still work on a client render. I'm curious, honestly. Like, we're not clearing it, so let's just run to this point. And see what's going on. jQuery, why is God, the browser's the worst. I probably have like some plugin that's doing stupid stuff here. Okay, let's try refreshing this one more time. Astro components, tour Astro. The funniest thing is, okay, right, visible. See, the hydration works. It wasn't visible because I closed the window and pushed the scroll position. Honestly, that's a hot feature. We don't even have that in Marco. We've talked about it as like something we could address after we perfect the art of removing JavaScript, but that is really cool. Okay, so I want to go up the call stack because I want to see. Okay, right. Shared config is an empty object, so it just doesn't hydrate. But okay, let's go all the way back up to our render call. Okay, so here's my problem here. I changed the code, but we're still calling render, and that's why this still works. Okay, yeah, I knew it should still work. So something's cached. So let's see, we have something called cache, and it's a snowpack. So let's just delete the cache. This should error, right? That's my guess. So let's try this again. Yeah. It only actually hydrates when it comes into view. That is like so awesome, right? Okay, so now let's see if I broke this thing. Let's look at this. Let's see if I broke this thing. There we go. Now is it broken? Yes, it's broken. Okay. Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay. That's where we should be. It should be broken. Okay, so let's fix it. As I said, I don't know if this is thrilling content for all of you, but this is what I do. I mean, you could get the welcome to Astro thing anywhere. This is where you can get a chance to see me either make a fool of myself or actually make something that I can make a PR for later. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so my guess is all we need to do is generate our hydration script. And if we generate hydration script, which is, and then we attach it to this HTML, then we should be fine. And I think, I mean, let's just do this like silly way. Let's just straight up do it. Now, hedge guess is I'm gonna have to clear the cache again. So let's just do that just in case. And then let's npm start. And if this works, then we might have just fixed it. Okay, life couldn't be that easy, could it? All right. So it is in view. It did scroll. Oh, wait, it hadn't hydrated yet. Did I mess it up because of the way? Oh, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? Did you see how it jumped to 7 when it hydrated? I almost want to do that again. Because, yeah, do you want to see that again? Let's do that again. I don't get to test this stuff very often, but the problem is because this page is already scrolled, Astro didn't realize it was in view. So I guess I've learned something. But how did it jump? How did it jump to 7 or 15? Because I went crazy on it. It's because Solid has a event replay progressive hydration built in. So I'm pretty sure this is Solid doing it. Like I have built this. I don't know if Astro has built this as well and something happened. But if you interact with something, we actually gather the events, and based on how the components flow and when it hydrates, we replay them. So if you start interacting with the page before it hydrates, you basically it plays them. Yeah, I haven't seen it so pronounced because I haven't had a way of deferring hydration like this, but yeah, right. I think of stuff like this, and no, actually, I didn't come up with this. React did a demo like 2 years ago, and I was like, how hard could this be to implement? So I did, and that's what the hydration script. That's one of the many cool things the hydration script does. Solid's hydration is actually kind of crazy between the auto serialization and this stuff and the suspense on both sides and all this stuff. Unfortunately, with a static render, we're not going to be able to take the full advantage of it, but the core mechanisms that we have are really quite cool. So I'm not sure what you mean by that. LE5. I'm not familiar with the acronym. But if we want, see, if you look here, do you want me to show you what I can show you what this happens? Yeah, I guess so. This. Oh, explain to me like I'm 5. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sir. I just want to respond to this. Maybe. Honestly, I've been trying to do this for ages because you guys know, like I kind of really hated React when it came out. I was just like, I love Knockout. Go away. So, every time I saw something they did, right from like 2013, I was just like, okay, how can I do this a different way? And so like basically I've been building a counter, like a reactive version of React, like since since before I even started on Solid. It's just been more my thinking is. So you need like a 5. Okay, sure. So let's look at this. This is an unexpected surprise, and obviously this shouldn't really happen here because I kind of fooled Astro a little bit. But see this run hydration events. Let's look at this, right? Okay, so what happens with Solid here is I'm hoping I can get into it. See, maybe actually the easiest way. I'm glad I have DOM expressions open, right? I let me see. Do I have DOM expressions open? Did I lose my? Oh, I see. It's because it's so weird. I can't see my toolbar, but in the stream I can. I have a monitor attached here, and it's like changed what my main desktop was, which is unusual. Let's open DOM expressions again. Okay. So I actually have the code written in an unminified form here in DOM expressions and under assets in case I ever like go, oh, I need to edit this script again. So let's look at this for a second, okay? Solid, that generate hydration script is actually, when it's all like minified and stuff, it's only like 200 bytes we load on the page, but it bootstraps a whole bunch of stuff, right? And this is like one of the thing here is this thing gets super small, but basically by default we grab click and input and a few, but you can actually configure Solid to grab what other events you want. And essentially all we do is we basically register it by template. All Solid templates have this data HK thing, and essentially we make event handlers for these events on the top of the screen. See document add event handler, and so let's say it's click input and some other. I can't remember what the other event is, but essentially we register them globally when the document loads, and then when it. And yeah, I've got some shadow DOM handling stuff here because I've always been a big proponent of web components. So all our event handling and cross, like we basically have a semi-synthetic event system in Solid, but it works across the shadow DOM by default just because, I mean, it added a bit of code, but honestly, I always thought web components were where I was going. It's so funny because I'm like now almost completely opposite of that. But essentially, what it does is when an event fires, it goes up to the nearest template element and that has a hydration key on it. That's what this lookup is. And then it just essentially grabs that element and pushes it on to the hydration context, which you've seen that we use anyways. And basically it creates a list of events that are tied specifically to that hydration context. So like if someone clicks a button, to get this exact thing, to see explain what I'm talking about. See this data HK? This is the root of our template. It walked up to this data HK and goes, this is the element, this is the template when it clones. This is what we care about, right? So it stores essentially that this button, like it just puts the event, it just grabs the end, it goes, this event was fired for this template. And yeah, we're okay. So yeah, walks up, finds the template. And then what ends up happening is because we have the event, we have the target, we have all the information we need about it. And then what ends up happening is in Solid, I showed you that run hydration event thing. Just a second, where was it? Was it in the source? Here, see this run hydration events? Well, what ends up happening is, and this is in server, no, it's client. So let me run hydration event. I'm sorry. I don't know how 5-year-old I'm doing here, but essentially it loads this thing off the window global object, the events, and it queues a micro task. It needs to do this, so don't worry about that too much. But essentially, it walks every time you call this. Essentially, it walks down and sees if this template's been hydrated. Like it starts in the top of the queue and runs through the top of the queue, what's left in the queue, until it hits something that hasn't hydrated yet. And then it continues. And the reason for this is if you click in a number of different places in like an out of order way, we have to preserve the orders of the events firing. So even if you've hydrated, if someone clicks something further down that hasn't hydrated before they click you that's hydrated, we actually have to wait till that something further down hydrates, just in case that it interacts with each other. So it's a little bit complicated, but essentially we just check the progress of hydration every time a template hydrates, and this is part of the compiled output of Solid. And then it basically, when it gets to the point where it's like, okay, we're good, it runs the event handler. And this event handler, like, what's this event handler? Well, it's the same event handler we use to delegate events in Solid anyways. So essentially what ends up happening here is this only works for the delegatable events, like all the mouse events, like click and blur and that. But essentially what ends up happening is we just replay the event at that point the same way we replay events through event delegation built into Solid. I didn't have to do anything special here because we already have the ability to take an event that is bubbled up to the document and basically trigger it. So let's see here. Yeah. Yes. This is Dan. That's not bad. There's some more complexity there in terms of like we care about the order things templates hydrate. Yeah, exactly. Because we have the target, and because the way event delegation works, the compiler. I mean, you can. Let me see if I can show you here, but the compiler. Yeah, there's a click handler. See this $click? Our click handlers for delegation are actually assigned to the elements. So we have the target. So when we rerun the event, we'll be able to like go, oh, what's the target? Does it have a $click on it? And then just basically just go, oh, what is that? Okay, that's subtract, and then just run subtract. So yeah, this is a bonus. I mean, as I said, I don't think it's that applicable, but this is one of those cool features that I don't get to showcase off. Solid has a lot of that. You know, my docs are a little loose on the SSR because, I mean, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. When I release something, I want to be like it is good, you know. And I don't consider Solid's SSR solution completely complete yet. But you know, I got to thank Astro here for coming up with the perfect place for me to showcase what I call this is one of those progressive hydration techniques. I know complicated, confusing topic. What's lazy? What's progressive? What's resumable hydration? But this is one of those progressive hydration techniques so that you can comfortably lazy load stuff. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't 100% sure at first because you have no avatar, but I'm pretty sure this is Dan, who's on the Solid core team, who's in charge of the documentation. So that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully, I haven't gone on a crazy tangent too much for you all, but you know, this is the cool stuff you come across when you're kind of playing with this stuff. So let's continue on unless there's any more questions about this. But it looks like we did fix the Astro hydration and renderer here. So, well, let's not count our chickens too fast. Know why? Because we need to make sure this actually works in more than just we're writing a counter to the page. I mean, how hard can that be? Let's see if we can put multiple Astro components on the page, right? Let's run this through its paces a little bit. Sorry, solid components on the page. Yeah, no. Honestly, so far, you know, Astro has been super intuitive. The fact that I could just go in and fix this completely blind is pretty awesome. You know, like A lot of thought has gone into this. I love when tools have gone through and put that kind of thought in. I felt kind of like this with Vite, actually. When I first saw it, I was like, I'd been working on Solid Start, and essentially, like, I'm not gonna lie, I hate doing the config stuff. Like, I don't mind doing config. I can set up Webpack for myself, but like the general solutions that like make things configurable, I hate giving people options. I know that sounds terrible, but I very much dislike, flexible APIs with lots of options and stuff. I'd rather like make really good building blocks and kind of like, pieces and kind of put them together like Lego. I don't like configuration. And unfortunately, when you're building like a meta framework, there's no way you can get around that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just build all the pieces first and then hope that maybe someone will put them together for me. And I was like, I'd been working on the router, the nested router, which lets you, know about which data is tied to the routes. If you've ever seen a Remix demo, we were really on the same kind of mindset. And essentially, like, I was kind of, how should I put it? Like, I was really torn because I knew that eventually I'd have to go do this, but I want to keep on working on cool stuff like what I've been showing you guys. And essentially, then I saw Snowpack first, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I now have the tool that I can use to finally do this. And I was like, well, I guess I will, get around to building this at some point, and I put a PR to Snowpack. Kind of, I was being patient. I didn't really care when it came through, just to make sure I could get Solid built. And then I came across Vite, and there were so many features, and I was just like, he just built all the missing pieces, like glob imports and the stuff I need for file-based routing. And I was just like, Evan read my mind. Like, this is, I was building everything else, hoping someone else would build these pieces, and there it is. So I definitely, appreciate, tools that can have that kind of easiness. And I think they're doing a great job here with Astro. You can already tell this. Let's just keep on going. A couple more questions. What's the use case for components that aren't interactive on the client? I mean, here's the thing. Like, you could just use Astro to template it, but maybe you're just, you already have the stuff written in that. Like, there's plenty of sites that are mostly static. You can build your blog site in React and then just send the static stuff. Actually, you know what? I got a cool thing to show you guys for this. I mean, it's minor and it's not going to make as big of an impression, but let me show you something relating to this question, because here's something else I've been playing with, right? See, before we even go here, let's give this 2 seconds. I just occurred to me. Okay, so we've got this, right? And if you looked at the component that I was looking at here, where is it? All right, got to load it. By the way, Brendan, yes. I think maybe this isn't a common case, but visible must be based on an intersection observer, and it's like not realizing that it's already visible because the page is already scrolled. I think this is, I know I keep on hitting it over and over in a demo. I think this is something you have to think about and have to kind of figure out how to best handle this. I understand why it happens, but yeah, this isn't for the best. But back to the question. Right, so yeah, so see, this here is a component, and this is a freaking simple component, right? Because there's not much to it. If you've ever seen solid compiled output, you'll notice what's going on here. There's a bit extra here because of hydration, but essentially there's no create calls. This get next element is either going to clone the template, which is up here somewhere, which is this like just a button. It's like, just a string here, or it's essentially going to just get it because it's already been rendered. So if you see the way Solid naturally compiles, we're already set up for hydration because we just create all the nodes out front, or they already exist, and then we just walk to whatever nodes we need to add interactivity to. So what's kind of cool about an example like this is this counter is never getting re-rendered again. And we know it's never going to get re-rendered again. So why even include it? So check this out. $ server only. Bang. Now, yeah, good. Let's hope this, I know I'm in a debug breakpoint, but let's hope that when I refresh the page, this does what I want it to do. All right. Sorry, I gotta stop doing that. What happened to the template? The template is gone. And we didn't send that whole string of HTML. So if this was a large component with lots of stuff, or if it was a truly static component written in Solid, what's really kind of cool with the way we do stuff here is, right now this is annotated, not automated in any way, but essentially we only ship the code we need to Hydrate. Like, we can just remove the creation code completely. Some people call this partial hydration because it's kind of like what Astro does. But I usually don't consider this a partial hydration unless like it's done better. But essentially, we have the ability, like if you just build a giant HTML page in Solid and then with a couple components in it, and then just went server only on that. And in fact, we automatically apply that optimization to when you start hydrating from the document. We can just not ship the template with Solid. So, you know, it's not, basically we only have to ship the code that is actually interactive. So we already have sort of a means to doing semi partial hydration, right? Obviously, in an example like this isn't too interesting. Like look, this counter still works, yeah. But you have to figure, and this code that gets brought in is like its own bundle, so that you have all these imports you have to worry about. But like if you were dealing in one large bundle, let's say, and not having these lazy loaded pieces, you wouldn't have these imports. And if your page is mostly static, we can basically like strip the majority of the HTML out of the page. So all you're dealing with is like a very basic walk to hydrate the stuff. I hope that makes sense. Like essentially, we have the ability to just not ship the HTML template. And this is going to be the secret to how we do partial hydration in Solid in the future, I imagine, where we can actually just not send the HTML part. It's not very obvious here, but when you like cursor this and you have relatively static content, the string template for the HTML actually makes up like 60-70% of the code. So you actually can get like at least a 50% code reduction simply by not shipping the templates that don't need to be on the server. And this is something we have in Solid today. I just, again, don't advertise it because I don't feel it's good enough, but you can kind of see where this is going. Sorry, this little tangent, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys that. I like the component model for breaking in views page one page. Exactly. That's the thing. When we're bringing the client experience to the server, this is one of the benefits. Like, I mean, you can consider partial templates and stuff, but you just get to reuse the components, right? Hopefully, Dan, that answers my question. Answers the question. So that's kind of like the basic. I did go on a crazy tangent to trying to show you how we can actually further save code. So like inside your island, Solid can ship even less code if you want. I mean, obviously unminified and stuff is not going to be a big deal. And because we have all these like import statements being a separate bundle, this is only going to probably make a difference when your islands are sizable. But, it's always cool to have tools on your disposal. So back to where we were going. I'm going to keep the server only here because who cares, right? We never need to send that template to the client. Let's add another Solid counter. And before I get going, I guess the questions are answered here. Let's see here. Okay, so all right, let's just see that if we can actually hydrate two Solid components side by side. Because now that I'm seeing the laziness here, I do have semi-concern that my hydration mechanism won't work. Might be serial though, so let's see. Oh, okay. It does work. Okay, so sweet, multiple hydrated components. And if I refresh it, click this one plus a bunch and this one minus a bunch, and then scroll the page. Ta-da. Okay. So we should, is it, I'm going to get help from the audience here. Is there one that just like loads it immediately? This is just something that I'm kind of more used to. The funny thing, as I said, I think this kind of lazy hydration has a lot of value. I think it's overplayed right now. Honestly, I think it's really cool, and Astro's kind of pushing this forward. But this is the way people cheat benchmarks, and then if done awkwardly, sometimes you end up pushing the cost onto your users. And I mean, obviously, like a simple thing at Astro, and you got a couple islands, like maybe 7 or 8 islands. It's not like this is fine, but I honestly feel that most of the islands should load offhand anyways. Like, it's not really worth deferring it. Perfect. Yeah, let's just do this, right? Visible is the cool trick. Let me show off how awesome this is. But realistically, when you got a little bit of code on your page, it's not worth the lazy loading. Seriously, it's not. Yeah, see, look, now my site is nice and interactive right off the bat, and that's beautiful. You know what? I'm not sending very much JavaScript, am I? I mean, I'm in dev mode. I mean, this is probably terrible. I gotta get rid of my breakpoints. I'm in dev mode, so this doesn't tell me anything. You know what? Let's just try, what is it? npm run build, and let's npm run preview. Show me what I'm going to end up in the end. Okay, so ignore this hook thing. Yeah, like, okay, beautiful. So yeah, this is my Grammarly. Tell it to be quiet. Solid counter is 658 bytes. And then we had an 8 kilobyte bundle here to have all the solid stuff that we need. So yeah, I mean, yeah, solid counter is 658 bytes. That's see, it's all those import statements. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Yeah, that, and yeah, it's interesting. That's one downside of cutting the slices too small. But anyways, it all works. Yeah, in an example like this, you're not going to see in the savings I was talking about. Okay, so now we have hydrating, and we have multiple. We've tried multiple components. Maybe we should do something more interesting, shouldn't we? What else can we do here with this? Let's see here. Maybe it'd be fun to try something a little bit more ambitious. Because I got a couple ideas here. Because obviously I can play with the different load modes. Yeah, that's a great question. No, solid scaling for components is way better than Svelte's. Just to give you an idea, Svelte's compiled output is much larger. Mostly that if you've ever seen the compiled output of Solid, it looks almost it's more than Hyperscript. So like, but it looks more like it is closer to that than it is Svelte. If you've ever seen like Evan's comparison or the React comparison, basically, like here's an example. We were actually testing component sizes, and like a component in React, a small component might be like 180, might be like 180 bytes gzipped minified, 220 in Solid, and then about 350 in Svelte. That's kind of like that's kind of where it sits in terms of a range. So Svelte starts smaller than Solid. Solid generally starts, I mean, R2Do MVC is 6 kilobytes. Svelte's is 4 kilobytes. But like if you look at something like Hackernews, a new page in Solid is about 1.6 kilobytes to Svelte's 3 kilobytes. So yeah, essentially, I did the similar math to what Evan did, and I found that with React, it takes 30 to do MVCs before Svelte and React kind of intersect. It takes 19. It takes 19 Vue, like to do MVCs for Vue and Svelte to interact, like to cross to the same side. And with Solid, it's 2.5. So once your site is bigger than Hackernews, Solid will be smaller than Svelte, and the intersection point with React or Vue is, I haven't calculated that, but it's quite far out. I think Vue is it almost never like React was something stupid. I did the math one time, and it was like it was something like 140 to do MVCs or something. Like it was stupid. But in any case, I'm kind of going off. So yes, share state between two components. I actually don't know how that works in Astro. That'd be interesting. We had an idea. One thing I was thinking of, I guess that is really the next question, isn't it? How do you do that? Because one thing I was thinking I could do is I could, how would I do that? I was thinking of a non-share state example, something like Hackernews, but yeah, that's interesting. But I'm still thinking to single page app. Like I'm thinking, well, like why you could make the header in Astro and then like make the rendered page data in Solid, and that would. But I mean, that example is kind of interesting because it all gets server rendered, and then if you just wouldn't, you just make a static site out of it, right? So yeah, how would we share state? Let's think about that. How would we do that? Because can we in Astro import a signal? Yeah, let's do this. I love this question. Let's do this. Okay. All right. That is very true, isn't it? Huh. Does anyone actually know? Honestly, that is a good point. See, we actually have this similar consideration with Marco, and we actually had to invent because the problem is Marco automatically does the hydration points. And if you have a bunch of islands, it's really easy because you just go not stateful, not stateful, not stateful, and just peel away all the garbage, and then you just have what's stateful left, and presto. But the problem is if you have shared state, you have to hoist it up. So we actually had to use like a pub sub solution where the components can talk to each other through this kind of global registered thing, but it's not considered part of the component tree. So that way we wouldn't have to hoist the state up. Basically, it's like decentralized. They can just kind of communicate through this channel, but without pulling in the whole app. I don't have a solution for that offhand, right? Yeah, I mean, let's do it. All right. I suspect though that is right. Let's do it. Let's just import create signal. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost 100% positive this won't work because we'll have the static version of it on the server, right? And then yeah, like we'd have to make something. Okay, and then like let's just for fun const s set equals create signal. I bet you if I set it as 2 and then kind of set this as the count here. The funny thing is this is not using Solid's JSX here. So like I'm pretty sure I haven't even looked at their syntax. Do I get to use JSX like syntax? Let's see. Oh, okay. That's promising. Yeah, okay. Right, and then we change our component to be initial count, right? So we can have props and okay, yeah, I mean, I can just set it once, but let's do this in a way that it would update. So let's create computed, so it synchronizes. I mean, set count props dot, they call it count. Okay, this way it synchronizes. It just will run first time, ta-da, and I'm like probably in breakpoint mode. Okay, so what happened? Yeah, this is, well, do we get to see this? Console.log. So this is the solution to everything, right? Let's see if we can see this. Well, I'm in preview mode. I'm not in dev mode anymore, right? I bet you that's my problem. Right. Yeah, I mean, initializes it too, but this is like, I have no trigger. I'd have to. Yeah, I suspect. Okay, yeah. So well, I think we know the solution. Should we make the solution? The solution is probably going to be like, we're just going to make like a. I wonder. I guess I will call it JSX because we can, but the solution is going to be like this. Is my guess. We're going to the question. We're going to have to wire it off the window or something, which is fine. We're just gonna do this. I don't know if stuff's gonna break terribly with this, but I suspect that we can very easily use reactivity as a means to do what we want to do, right? We'll make a store and we'll make it a component so that Astro knows what to do with it. And I can take this message down, sorry. As much as we like knowing that Theo has no idea. Okay, let's do this. Sorry. I'm kidding, I kid. And then obviously we can just return whatever. String probably is pretty safe. I don't know how Astro handles that, but we're just gonna, how are we gonna do this? Oh, of course. Import is server from SolidJS web. Actually, I don't know. Oh, right. We actually don't need to do that. We're using modern browsers. We just global this, or like just global this at global this. I'm just gonna put the signal on it. It's kind of cheeseball felt store style deal, where it's like pretty nothing. But if I do this and I stick it above, what we're going to try and do, which I think might be fun. I mean, this is sort of silly a little bit. I'm just going to tie it all to the same thing. Like, we're just going to make both counters use the exact same thing. So I went ahead of myself a little bit too. I should just, we'll just be able to, we're just going to do this. We're going to destructure global this. dot $$ store. Oh, did not like that. Oh, it's because I put a $sign in front of it. Oh, okay. Global this store destructure. I mean, it should be undefined right now. So, but then we put our store in our app above here. And we'll make sure the store always hydrates too. And load. Import store from components/store. Did I not save that? That's interesting. Auto completion died on me. Components slash. Nope. All right. All right. Okay. So. We did it. We did it. Ta-da. See, both counters are connected to the same state. So there you go. I mean, I don't know if this is the best pattern. They probably have like shortcuts for these kind of things, but there we made a component to host state, put it on a global, and then ta-da. I mean, I don't like putting stuff on a global like this, obviously, because in theory, you know, like I'm a hacker. I mean, I'm not really a hacker, but window dot $store dot what is it, setter. So one. I mean, you can always do this with JavaScript anyways. It's weird to have your state on the window object like this. We could do something to obfuscate this a bit nicer, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, reactivity, not part of our component system. So we can, we have a state management system built in. This just works. So, I did a store, I did a signal. This is like the Svelte store commitment. We could use, create store and do this kind of stuff. So, we got options. How are we doing? We're not doing bad. Okay. So that wasn't too bad. So now we know that we can share state. What else cool stuff can we do here with Astro? We could take something mostly static, I suppose. Actually, no. Let's. The age of the tour has waned. I think I'm okay going like this. Let's see if we can just do something a little bit different. Maybe I can pull some HTML from another project or something and see what we can do here. Now that we have a means to do that. All right. Yeah, why not? I was doing yeah, let's just grab some static HTML here. Why not? I can do a bit of this. I was doing a demo for Marco a little while ago, and what we did was, okay, let me see if I can find it. I want to try something where I hit an API and do some data loading, if that makes sense. And what I was thinking about was I put some resources away in a project here where essentially I grabbed all the static HTML you need to build a Hackernews app. And I did this as a stream for Marco, which is, I love that because it was like a how should I put it? It was like one of those reveal things where we were just building stuff the kind of same way you build something with with Solid or React, and we're just building the app. And then I do the big review, and you see the loading states and the placeholders, and we're doing all this typical stuff you do in a normal app. And then the big reveal moment happens when you realize that Marco was doing the fully interactive placeholders app without sending any JavaScript, because it used a combination of streaming and partial hydration enough that it was like could do async data loading and placeholder swaps without sending any JavaScript. So really big jaw drop moment, but it happens an hour and a half into the stream and no one is probably watching anymore. So, it is what it is. But I just want to, I think I can just take this HTML file, play straight HTML, and I think if I can just drop it into this Astro thing, just go bing. And if all goes right, okay, how do we get CSS in Astro? That should be our next question, right? Is how do we get CSS in here? I'm just kind of curious, because this is H2S Solid. Yes. What's going on? I broke it. Tags cannot be inside element blocks. What did I do? Oh, escaping. Okay. See, there's always some things you have to account for. Let's see if this is the solution, because this has yeah, okay. Huh? Good. We're back on business. Does anyone know if I can just put a CSS file in here? I mean, I could add a, we know a style tag is going to work, right? Like that's a given, right? So let's just grab our styles from my example here. I have a style.css, which has a lot of styles. And actually, yeah, this is going to be like a pain to scroll later, but let's just see. Can I just do this? And this will just work. Hacker News. I mean, it's completely static right now. Actually, let's see what the network does. I mean, we're not doing anything. We just have the Astro client, which is 7.8 kilobytes. So yay. Okay, so built with Solid. Yeah, let's see, what would we do next? We would probably, this header section is on every page, so let's see if we can make a Astro file for the layout. I don't know if they have a special technique for this, but I feel like I'm just going to do something that seems rather sensible here. From my perspective, watch this not work, but I'm going to essentially grab all of the stuff here down to, one thing I love about static sites, and you can't get over this, is like there's no routing you have to worry about. It's just like anchor tags as is. So we should be able to just, is there a way I can just skip down to the good stuff? Get down to about here. Just put that in a layout component. Do I have to put the dash or whatever? Oh, it's probably complaining that it's not even that. It's just complaining that I literally haven't closed our tag yet. So let's fix that. Let's just close it. I actually have no clue how projections work in Astro, which is probably actually going to be my first gap here, because what I want to do essentially, this is how an example, maybe I had to look at the internals of the Marco component, I could see it. or markdown component rather, because what I essentially want to do here is I want the HTML, right, and then right in between where I put it here, the body and head, I want to be able to be like props.children, right? So like, you know what I mean? Like I want like a slot or something here. I don't know if Astro has that. Maybe a quick look at the docs can give us this. But essentially, what I want to do is in our index Astro page, I want to essentially wrap this whole thing in our layout, or whatever, and then do like this, and then import layout from /components/layout. Astro, I think. Okay, so I don't have the slotting right, but the main mechanism works, right? So I just need to figure out how slotting works. Documentation. Told you we'd be back here. Layouts. There's probably an actual. Oh, there's actually literally like a. Okay, it's calling to put it in a directory. Okay, so I have to figure out why this isn't working, but my hunch was correct. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I understand this correctly, like my first hunch here of just putting a slot should be the preferred solution. I just am not doing something quite right. Oh, yeah, no, here it is. Oh, I wonder. Let's look at the. I wonder if we have the web component issue. No, this is right. So why did I lose styling unless is everything automatically scope styling? Is that what it is? Do we have scopes? We have scope styling. I bet you that's what it is. I see all the hashes coming through here. Oh, I wonder if that's what it is. I didn't actually look at styling in CSS. Are scoped. Haha. Sorry, I see some comment here. Is there a global.css file? Like, did I skip over that? Because they said style tag. I didn't see if. I could also just. Yeah, because I kind of just want to. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm just silly here. Wasn't there one in public? Go back to the beginning. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a CSS whiz. We're gonna do this the easy way, because this is let's just. Is there like tooling to compress this and then just go bye, and then, oh, that didn't do what I wanted it to. But again, bye. Okay, and then we'll take the styling and dump it in here. I don't know. Yeah, I'll keep the rest of this, but I'm going to grab some stuff here. Where is it? Okay, so let's try this again. Style CSS. Okay, so let's just dump this at the end here. No. Does global CSS get incorporated here? I don't even know home CSS. All right. It's always going to be, CSS is always going to be my undoing, isn't it? Okay. But yeah, that's not doing what, I don't actually see it here. Although it's probably going to be in here. I mean, let's just see if we can import it, right? If it's public, I'm gathering it's going to be top level, so it'll be just like maybe /assets, maybe. Or actually, before we go there, let's just look at the docs real quick and see if they have any mention about public. Okay, that's fine. Let's just see if I do something like, God, I hate like rels. God, this is showed you the last time I did this directly. Can't even remember what the syntax is. Something like this. Third paragraph on CS docs page. Thank you. CSS and docs, third. Is that global? Unless that's, oh, use style global. Okay. Okay, that's my winner now. Let's just go back. Style global. Something is broken. It's better. Oh, it's because the title's missing. Why is the title missing? That's a great question. But, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so we have a layout, we have styles on it, we have, let's see here. That's so weird because the styles are there. It's just like the color or something. It's probably, yeah, it's like it's hidden. All right, well, let's see here. Yeah, so there's probably something. Clearly, these global, something is getting. I suspect something is coming in here from here somewhere. I don't know what home CS is. Let's just delete it because we can. Anything crash? No. Like there's some CSS leaking in here from somewhere. Yeah, I don't. To apply to the anchors. Fun. Header is white. What? Okay. Something. Yeah, okay. Something's not applying properly. That's weird. Okay. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Instead, what I wanted to see if I could do is I wanted to see if I could load some data in here somewhere. So let's because the problem is this header style is applying, but it should be influenced by, there should be a rule in here where the anchor tags under the news item thing, pages. I guess one thing that would be cool to see here is if how routing works, right? Because, um, yeah, how do we get how do we get params into here? Let's look. Pagination, because .. page. Good. That's what I want, and that will give me. Yes, it's interesting. Astro has their own means to do this, which is cool, but Solid has a means of doing this all built in that bypasses all of this. Because we kind of have a fetch as you render mechanism that allows us to do suspense on the server, which should still work on async. So, but what I want is, I want this, and then I want to know how I read it. Yeah. Astro props. Oh, they're in the page. It's gonna force. No, I can just go. I can just do this. Okay, beautiful. Okay. Okay. So I can just do this. And then essentially, we're gonna have to do like a bunch of other fun stuff, obviously, but if I rename this file to something like stories, this, interesting. Okay, well, sure, I'll add kids. Yeah, this is interesting because I kind of want to bypass this, admittedly, because we have all this stuff built in. But, you know, okay, so I have to return something here. I wonder how it knows to put this in. That's interesting. Hmm. Okay, so like if I just do this and comment it out, is it still going to complain at me? Yes. If I get rid of this too, what is it going to do? Okay, so it's required. So the second you go to this, it needs this get static prop. See, I'm not used to these get static type methods, so I'm like, this is all new to me. I've never used Next.js really beyond like. So let's see. Expecting something from pagination. I was hoping I could just bypass this routing documentation. Dynamic routes, yeah, I understand that. Name parameters. Yeah, so we got like this part makes sense to me. It's just this get static thing seems to be necessary. Dun, 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 dun. must exporter, which will tell Astro exactly what pages to generate. Oh, of course. This is a static site generator. It needs to know like what possible combinations of things. So in our case, we need to be able, okay, yeah, let's do it. I know now. I'm also not very familiar with static site generators. I'm like a single page app guy who's been thrust into this stuff. Yeah, yes. Thank you. I'm a little slow here. This is why we're doing this, right? So, and then essentially, if I understand right, params and props. And params are okay. Everything is right. I need store and then params. I actually have the API reference that I was using for my other thing here. Top new show ask job. Top, and then we should be able to just copy this a few more times. Oh, I am missing a closing brace. Ask and jobs. All right. Huh. I was trying to get slash in there by going stories nothing. I think I'm like jumped already to like a trickier version of these things, because the whole reason I need to use the dot 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 here is because technically it's both home and these combinations of pages that I'm looking at here. All right. So um, I wonder if I can get away with not bothering with the what do you call it, with um, the dot 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 for the shot. I said I knew I'd get to a certain point here where I probably would just have to like sit and get the docs to get it, because I bet you if I go like slash top, we don't have a problem, right? It's just that the homepage, right? So yeah, I new show ask, these all work. Oh, it's job, not jobs. My bad. The only problem is this one. I'm gonna have to figure out at some point, but let's move on. Can I do query parameters here, or is that going to be lots of fun? What I really wanted to do was add pagination that way, but I suspect, yeah, okay. Maybe I'm trying to jump into something that's like a little bit too much. Let's just worry about loading page one. So, like, not worry about this. So question is, can we basically exit out straight into a solid component now? Right? That's my question. Let's forget about our store for a moment. We don't need this anymore. And let's do something a little bit different. Let's basically go, okay, I want to make, yeah, what do we call it? Stories.jsx. And I want to take our Astro page, and I mean, I can leave the news view here, probably. Why not? Let's now move all of this out of here and call stories. Technically, we should be passing in some information. Which I think, let's say, what are we going to be? Page. I don't know what this page is, but I guess we'll find out just pretty quickly here. Stories. Stores. And then export function or export default function stories props. Turn some big block of JSX. What's going on here? Yeah, that's because I put a fragment around those. Actually, yeah, that's fine. We'll put a fragment for now. That's weird, but that's weird. Main. Oh, it's because no, there's main. Div, main. Okay, that's interesting. Let's remove like half of these because there's too many stories on this anyways. I can't see this. I can't scroll. Or let's remove all of them apparently. What am I doing wrong here? ul, main, div. Format. No, it's definitely very unhappy with what I've done here, so it looks like it should align, list line, span. This is like the fun job of figuring out like where you're missing the thing that doesn't match. Oh, hey. What is the one difference between HTML and JSX? Only difference. It's not class name, all that other garbage. What is the only difference between JSX and HTML? JSX does not have void elements. So that is what this was. I didn't close the BR. That's the only difference. You can pretty much copy and paste JSX as long as you remember that you have to close void elements. Anyways, where was I? Yes, I do need to put a slot in. Or actually, no, I don't need to put a slot in yet. Okay. So anyways, We got our stories, layout, stories, page. And hopefully when I go to top here, still rendering. Now it's solid rendered. And if all went well, which I'm sure it did, we're not doing any client stuff. So Solid's not getting shipped to the browser, yet we're still rendering with Solid, okay? So now let's see what these props look like coming in. So console.log props.page. Do I get on the client and the server? Undefined. Invalid path param stories. Interesting. Yeah, this is stories. Interesting. Huh. It's funny. It's rendering, but it's complaining. Huh. I'm like probably missing something just like really small or obvious. In any case, it looks like what I actually want is this. Actually, oh, look at that. I actually want is this. And then it should be stories. Stories. Expected for optional parameter got empty string top. Is this one just messing with things? Yeah, it's completely messing with things. Okay, so I'm seeing it on the server because this never goes to the client, right? That's awesome. Okay, so we're rendering this on the client, and we're getting our page now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another folder, and I'm going to call it, I don't know. Actually, let's not even bother with folder. Let's just add a new file, api.js. Let's see if I can get create resource in here, right? Because I said I just want to see if I can load something. Right, it's on the server, so I'm probably going to need node fetch unless Astro gives me fetch, which, that'd be like a next level move, but I suspect that, yeah, this is pretty easy API here. We're going to go get stories, type in page. So we're just going to use page one. So then in our solid components, stories component, we're going to import stories. Nice. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do the same with solid start, to be fair. Like, and I think a lot of them probably do, because like the last thing you want to be dealing with is like why can't I just like do something? Like the beautiful thing about these approaches, especially when you can consolidate them in a way, like right now there's still a very conceptual Astro layer and solid layer, but like if you take it even further and just have like a single experience, like you start forgetting about the client and server boundaries, right? This is one of the coolest things honestly about Marco, is like you literally forgot that you were doing server rendering and it just all magically works. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to need to get the stories, and what else I'm going to need to do is I'm going to also need to create a signal, or actually, I'm going to create a resource, aren't I? Solid. Yes, not giving me what I want, but that's fine. Then I should be able to just go const data or brand stories equals create resource, and this is going to be non-dynamic anyways. So let's just, I think I can just go get stories, props.stories and page one. And then if I, let me just double check that the API is just something returning a promise. Yes, it is just returning a promise. Beautiful. Then we should be able to just, it's going to be fun. We can't, all right, what's wrong here? Fetcher is not a function. Oh, all right. Let's do some stuff. Suspense. React? Nope. I guess this is the fun part about React, but also being in the project. We need, I guess, actually, we don't need to bring it from web. We can actually, I always forget that I export them through here too. Suspense. And initially, what we're just going to do here is actually, I mean, this is top level, so like this might be like a little bit. What fallback equals div. Like we're not going to actually load the data right now. I'm just, funny, we're never going to see this fallback because it's async rendered. But in theory, okay. Okay, this is a good sign. The fact that we're still seeing data here is really good. Okay. Let's just keep on going, you know. This suggests that for each stories, yes, that we will be able to, what the, it's like the editor is like doing exactly not what I want right now. Okay. We should be able to, story, should be able to, I'm just going to take this existing item. If it appears more than once, then we know that we're getting somewhere. All right. And we don't have to import for technically the way Solid works, but it's not. Okay. Yeah, this is probably where it gets like super tricky to figure out. Although I wonder, view page source. This is the way I can turn on line wrap. No, it is rendering nothing here. Oh, it's duh. You have to read a resource under suspense boundary for it to actually do anything. So, oh no, I did read it though. Okay, so a little bit trickier than I was hoping. Let's see here. It was interesting though that it was still rendering. So yeah, probably because it wasn't suspending. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, this might be trickier than I hope to actually debug. Let's see if we can kind of do something here. Like, I love the fact that JSX is just expressions. Like, we should be able to just do something like console log stories, and if everything works properly, we should see this log twice, and we don't. It's like it never finishes loading, which is too bad. Okay, yeah, because that's going to be harder for me to track down the debug, probably. The other hint that this doesn't actually end up working is because yeah, I mean, I can debug solid code, but I don't know how fun that is going to be for everyone. I was just kind of curious because you can see where I'm going here, right? Like, assuming that this works, you would be able to actually just full on use Solid's own primitives and API fetching and suspense and everything, and just like write your app and just drop it in, and like not really worry. Like, it should just work. That's the benefit of using the async renderer. But I can tell already from the page source that we're not serializing it in. You can actually see here that there's a hydration resources here that's empty array, which means that my API call is not getting the story, like getting back the data that I'm expecting. It is serializing, which means it does think it's finishes and that it settles, but for some reason it's not actually getting there. I mean, I guess we can intercept the promise, right? We can just we can see what's going on. I don't know how much. Oh, actually, I need to let it do the JSON thing, and then I need to go then r console dot log r. Refresh. Let's run it again and rerun our page. Okay. Yeah. So our fetch is just not working. I don't know if this is because I'm trying to use like Astro's fetch, not where it's expected to be used, but it's actually the fetch that's filling, not. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, back to the start, right? Yes. There you go. We were in the right place at the beginning. Okay, let's bring back node fetch. Thank you. I very much appreciate people doing the groundwork for me while I'm doing this. Okay, let's get this going because I would love to show wouldn't you love to see this? Let's go npm install node fetch because let's see, this works properly. Oh, fetches might have let me down too. Doesn't you can see that it's clearly the promise that's not working. Oh man, that's too bad, right? Because we're not getting in the then. So this issue probably has nothing to do with Solid and some weird esoteric thing to do with Astro, but like not like it's probably solvable. It's just like I had to patch the headers to confuse it that is Chrome. The weird thing is I'm not even getting. Okay, well let's maybe that's my problem, right? Like what the catch? Are we getting an error? I think I should have just used an async function in the first place because this is already like so convoluted. Let's just do that so we can see what we're dealing with. So await const res equals await fetch. Data equals await JSON. I know there's probably shorter ways to do this, but humor me because I just want to console.log data. Just want to do this, and let's try catch this whole block. Try catch error console.log error. This is what everyone wanted to see. Debugging node fetch. Nothing. Nothing. Why? Actually, that's not. It's weird. It's because. Okay. Maybe I'm missing something else. I'm not. Okay. Console.log. Okay. It's not the fetch. My mistake. We're not mapping properly. Let's make sure we get here. Console.log type page. Okay. Okay, it's not working. Sweet. Okay, now I know. So this is not fetch's fault, although we did learn something valuable here. Our problem is props.stories isn't defined. And the reason it's not defined is because I called it page. This is why I use TypeScript, right? All right. There we go. Now everything is making sense. Fetch.default is not a function. Yes. All right. Node fetch is not happy with me here. Is it that I just, because I had it. Let's just go back here a second. When it was always just fetch like that, right? Like I commented out something that was already. Yeah. Okay. So why is node fetch not happy with us? This pollutes the global. I didn't think it did, but let's. I don't think this does what. No, it doesn't. Fetch is not a function yet. Fetch isn't defined. Why? This is what real coding looks like. It works. Okay. Interesting challenge here is I don't know if I get to see the temporary server stuff. This is the stuff that I generated from the dist, but I don't actually know what it's compiling to. Well, I guess in the docs that say they use node fetched, I wonder if they actually show like a really simple example. That would be really nice. Because honestly, I mean, it should just work though. So I can't see why they'd have any reason to do that. That's, yeah, import fetch from node fetch. That's interesting. Okay, I mean, what is fetch? I mean, we can take this. Just keep on going. It's undefined. Awesome. I must be just doing something that's just like getting it in the weirdest way. Okay, let's try something else. Let's see if it's a little bit trickier than that. Let's see if I get a different result if I do it here. Okay, so like did it just like, the funny thing is it would error out earlier in the process if something like it's like, watch it be like, we released a new version of node fetch 2 hours ago and it breaks everything because we switched the way we handle ESM or something. Probably unlikely. It's interesting. I mean, the library is here. Compilation's not complaining. It's just literally undefined. Well, that's interesting and kind of really blocking, because I can't actually think of what else I could do here to kind of get around that if I can't figure out this, right? You know, obviously I'm gathering this. I think I already tried this, but let's double check. I suspected we would get to a point where this might happen, but I did not expect to be taken out by node fetch here. Oh man, that's pretty lame. Fetch.default is not a function. It's basically saying that there's a common JS conversion happening here, and essentially something isn't mapping properly. Let's see. Can I? No. Okay. I was like, hoping that I could see this underscore Astro thing. I mean, one thing I could do is I could go npm run build and then like maybe get a chance to see top style show new job. Thinking I could get a chance, but I'm not going to see any JavaScript here because it's statically rendered. It did its job, right? Here's the HTML, right? So that isn't going to let me get into the JavaScript. Pulling into the client isn't going to help us because it's node fetch. Okay. This has to be where, but no, this looks like it's just caching of node modules. Yeah, this is just pre-build kind of stuff. Maybe not. No. No, this looks like internal library stuff. How long? I don't know. If anyone has any ideas, that's interesting. There's some comments about using like the toppable weight in the Astro stuff, but I imagine you can do that. What I wanted to see if I could do was actually use the full like suspense on the server rendering here, and basically lift almost an existing app and just have this functionality kind of built in. What we're going to generate here is actually going to be server side. It's going to be static, but we get to use basically mechanisms. Like if it wasn't server side, you could have suspense on both sides, kind of playing in. But I don't know what to do with that. This is, yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time kind of debugging this. I don't think I've probably spent long enough, which means that we're at a interesting point at 2.5 hours. I don't know if there's anything else or any other questions people want to have, but I don't think I can take, if I can't find fetch, I can't take the example I want to any further. So yeah, let's move on. I don't know if there's anything else anyone wanted to see. I'm open to answer any questions or kind of play around with anything. But otherwise, we're getting pretty close to where I'm going to call it a day. Drink a little water here. Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. It's interesting because when you have like I mean, this is always the tricky part with debugging server side. And I guess it's more interesting here because with a static generator, we never actually, with a static generator, we actually never need to have the server side JavaScript like it's never something that needs to be exposed. So I understand why you keep it all kind of tucked away, but I'm always curious. Looks like you might be able to inject a global in the Astro config. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. What else we got here? Homepage, you can add an index Astro component in the pages folder, then abstract, import the abstract. Don't know if I'm completely following, to be fair, but yeah, I mean, I think I could definitely set up the project structure a little bit differently here. Yeah, I don't know. This is there's like something I'm missing on the kind of like background build stuff, which is too bad. It looks like the types are completing. Yeah, I mean, let's see. There's this Astro config. I don't know if I want to go down this path and try and figure out how to inject it. Oh, you mean in terms of solving that problem that I was having in terms of like needing the specific route? I could, yeah. I could make two pages and then use like two components and then use both of them in both pages. Yeah, definitely. And actually, with Astro's case, there's no downside to that. The reason I was kind of mentally avoiding doing that was because Like if you did that in Solid and client-side routing, you would actually end up like re-rendering stuff you wouldn't need to re-render, which is why I was like insulator. But this, who cares? This is static. Every page is independent. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And it doesn't help us with our fetch. It would be so easy just to, oh man, I don't know. Okay. I mean, I've been saying I don't know for long enough. How long has it been? Like 15 minutes, probably longer. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I guess that's it for our stream today. We saw a lot of cool stuff. I'm super stoked that you could actually showcase the progressive hydration. It looks like the islands work pretty well. Delete cache. Okay. Let's do it again. As I said, I think the cache is, well, actually, a lot of the cache stuff looks like it's library stuff, like pre-processed node modules. But I will do whatever. Yeah, no, there's something weird going on in the compilation here in the background, and I wish I could look at it, but yeah. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I've got the fixed integration here. I'm going to make a PR. I'll do that off stream, but it looks. The only if you guys want to know, the reason I want to try this async thing is because I suspect that there might be places where this doesn't work, and I thought like if I got an async data loading example working like with like node fetch, I could kind of, well, okay, let's fake it. Who cares? Screw fetch. Let's fake it. We don't need fetch. I know what the API looks like. Let's fake it. Right? It's only going to run on the server anyway. So let's just set a timeout and fake it. Like let's define our own fetch function here. Let's screw this. Const fetch. Actually, I don't even need fetch. What do we want to do? We want to, yeah, I don't want to deal with a bunch of extra garbage. Let's just fake it. Let's just, I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I just I'll just do it in line. Why not? Let's just go like any of this. Return new promise. Resolve. And then set timeout for like 100 milliseconds or something. And let's go resolve array of some data. For now, let's put 2 things in the data, right? Let's move on. I was getting too hung up on, things working properly. We don't need things to work properly. We don't care. All right. See, 2 stories, right? Okay. So, I mean, you get what I'm doing here. I put in lazy loading here, and okay, let's now because we can set the data. Let's just make it whatever the hell we feel like here. I think I even have a data structure here. Okay, so each story has this information on it. Let's just kind of go like this, and then go ID 1 points popular one. fill in. Sorry, I should have thought of just like. This is still. Yeah. I should have thought of doing this way earlier. I was like too focused on trying to like make it work. We don't care if it actually works. Right. We're back in action here. I don't know. And let's copy this again and make a slightly different story. An ID2. And what else is cool? Let's do astro.build. All right. Sorry, I like lost probably most of the stream when I was doing this. Beautiful. And we don't need the console log. All right. And then stories. No, wrong one. Components, solid stories. Story dot point. Story dot is it rel. Okay. Title. Does that feel better to have something to show for all our effort here? Story.domain. And let's do this. Story.user. Story.user. And there we go. This is the busy work where I was supposed to, prepare this ahead of time, but I said. This is a story dot time ago. ID. Story dot ID. Still static. I probably could have just destructured and save myself a little bit of effort. I'm so used to not destructuring now that it is what it is. And story dot comment count. All right. You can't see it because of the styling issue I had earlier, but essentially, did I gave them the same points because I didn't want to discriminate, right? I wanted to show, I wanted them both to have a great upvote score, but we have to have a winner, right? Let's just make sure that they're different. Yeah, there we go. So, yay. I don't know what's up with that styling, but whatever. I can show you my awesome CSS skills, way of dealing with frustrating stuff like this. Where are we? Title, span.title. Yeah. Watch this not even work. Let's see if this. All right, there we go. There. I solved CSS. Okay, so now, just so everyone following knows what's happening, I'm actually using Solid Suspense on the server to do this data fetching. So Solid knows when it's done, when suspense resolves. You never see the loading state because it's a static page. But this is this kind of like how we can get that Solid experience into Astro pretty easily. And now the real test in question is, how do I do this? I was kind of like thinking, I was like, what if I do this? But they're still part of the same. No, they're not. Can I do this? Because I was thinking, what happens if I created 2 islands here? Would I break the world? Okay. Yeah. So one downside about this approach that I was thinking about, actually, you know what? Here's the thing. So we have to think about it. If a page is going to be completely static with Astro and there's no client side, you don't actually want to generate the hydration scripts. So we're going to have to make this configurable somehow to figure this out. The same trick that we use now that I'm thinking about it, I 100% know that it was Solid's progressive rendering that was causing that cool counter thing earlier. But it means that we're actually putting extra stuff on the page, because look, here's the serialized data that we never need to hydrate. So probably need to think of a way to prevent it. But if we actually did want to hydrate on the client, which we can do, right? What was it? Client load, right? We don't actually need to do this, but if we wanted to, we should essentially now, yeah. I mean, it's funny. The styling is why we can't see these. They're sitting literally right on top of each other. But actually, yeah, you can see both Astro roots. And each with their own script hydrates properly, which is cool. Yeah, so basically, okay, I got my answer. If the stuff in Solid hydrates sequentially at load time with the async data like this, it'll work fine. But because the hydration scripts get run immediately, regardless of whether the component is hydrated or not, it looks like it means that it's possible that out of order hydration of the components will tie to the wrong hydration scripts, which means that I have some work to do with Solid if we want to get multiple async hydration routes working here. Essentially, my recommendation right now for using Astro after I do the PR is going to be essentially not to use it with async. See, the async does nothing for Solid unless you're using suspense and using the stuff I'm showing you, and that stuff's not going to work. So I might even make the PR synchronous, and essentially, if I make it synchronous, what'll happen is kind of, well, is that, yeah, let's just do it. Let's make it synchronous. The cool thing, actually, I got a couple more things to show you guys before I'm done. So you see how you see the console logs right now on the server, and these console logs are happening when. Okay, so this is the wrong one. Let's just get stories back here. Okay, right. Okay, so now no more console logs, and then let's go into API, and let's actually. How do I want to do this? I'm just going to, yeah. Okay, function. Where are we? This in the response, set timeout there. And I'm going to go return. I don't even need to return. There's nothing special here. Console.log. Okay. Okay. So you can see we can see our fetching for each of the pages that are generated at a what do you call it, at a build time or whatever, right? This is a static site generator, fetch. Now, if I go back into our renderer and change it to, as I said, I already know that this isn't going to work properly for Solid because of, sorry, this render is up here, because of like the way that we do the data serialization. If I go back and go, okay, no, our server render actually needs to just be rendered to string. It's not async. There's no await, right? It's just synchronous version of this, right? Which is probably a smart move right now because we don't fully really support async in this scenario. See where the console log is now? What is this? Oh, okay. Let's clean slate this because I think I have to. It's the cat. We have to worry about that sneaky cache sneaking in. Let's move this to trash. Okay, let's try this again. Right, add the component on the page twice. No fetching on the server. Okay. So what I just did by changing it to render to string instead of using render to async string, it no longer waits and actually no longer fetches on the server. So the exact same code actually now renders the shell statically and then does the fetching on the client to load the data in dynamically. Might not be what you're looking for, but essentially this at least won't break, so to speak. So basically, if you use if we configure Astro this way and you use suspense in your app, what it'll actually do is statically render the loading state. See, did you see the loading state there for a second? Loading, right? And then it'll do the fetch on the client. Not, as I said, not the best thing, pretty standard Jamstack. Like if you were to actually make Hackernews app, you would probably do this because the data is dynamic. You can't pre-gen it all, right? I mean, unless you're doing like some crazy, like updated every X number of seconds. So what this allows us to do actually is use suspense on the client, but you can just write your app exactly the same way. And we just change where the fetching happens. Anyways, don't know if that is any good. Someone asked earlier on if we show like a client only component, but essentially with using non-async rendering, we can essentially get a basically automatically use suspense as a way of setting that it's a client boundary. That's probably like a little bit too tricky. I need to think about this. Mostly that I think that it's probably better to set it up this way without the async rendering until we actually fully support it. Yeah, okay. This is a fair question. Basically, what I mean is when we go to render a page, there's multiple ways we can render it in Solid. And essentially, when I say async, I mean that at the time of rendering on the server, it's asynchronous, as in, like, it doesn't matter if it's happening at SSG time. Like, if you're statically generating your site, by default, the build config was set such that it would essentially support async, which means that it it lets the renderer decide when it's done. Like, render to string in React is synchronous. You run the line of code, the next line of code you have with the string. With async, this lets us do suspense on the server. So instead of, like, in classic React and Next.js and stuff, they actually, like, go do the fetching first, and then when all your data is fetched, they then render the string with it. That's fine, but what I wanted to do is kind of bring it all together for a couple of reasons, right? So when I say async, what I mean is we start rendering and it's actually fetching and rendering at the same time, and then it all resolves and gives you what you need. So generally speaking, yes, it is about DX in the Astro specific scenario. But what it means, though, is what I just did. I just switched from being async to non-async, like just changed where the fetching happens, and it's the exact same code. And if you want to switch it again to streaming, like instead of using a static site generator, you actually have this real-time streaming where it's doing the data fetching on the server and streaming it through to the client. It's all the same code. You don't actually have to change your app at all to be able to render, because it's the same mental model. And what this lets you do is, like, just be like, this is the way to build a Solid app. And then we can move so that it optimizes for, like, the platform you want to use it for. So, like, maybe you want to go on Netlify and have it, like a static CDN page or something, and pre-gen it, like SSG. It works. You can take the same app and go, oh, now we're going to server render it on an AWS function, but like in AWS Lambda, they don't support streaming. But that's fine. We'll just do async mode, and it will serve the page when it's done loading. And then if you go onto, like, a Cloudflare worker, which does support streaming, take the same code again, and now it actually gets the full benefit of streaming. Yes, exactly. So the whole point here, and this is part of the reason I delayed 1.0, was I wanted to create an environment situation where you just write your app one way and it just works regardless of approach to server-side rendering. And that's what I was trying to show here, was by taking that same app that had the async rendering and making it synchronous, what happens then is, instead at SSG time, it actually just loads a loading spinner, but then at hydration time, it does the client stuff. So, like, yes, if we remove the client load here, like suggested, it's just going to show load because the client's going to pick up. What we're pre-rendering now is just going to be a header with a loading. It's like the app shell experience. Very common on Jamstack. Like, if you're going to make a Hackernews example for Jamstack, that's what you would do, right? You would essentially just render the app shell, and then every time the client loads, it'll dynamically fetch the data. Hopefully that makes sense. That's essentially kind of the thinking here. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm going to change the renderer to not be async for now, until I can fix the async renderer, because essentially there's no benefit to async from Solid's perspective, because it's only suspense and it'll basically break. So if I change the renderer to be synchronous, at least you can use suspense and basically build your apps with the client-side data fetching if you wanted. So, like, you could basically static render the static parts and then data fetch the dynamic parts in the client. The synchronous renderer is also slightly faster. So for, like, SSG, it might be beneficial, small thing. I mean, I don't know where the bottleneck is. I know Astro's working on performance things. I doubt Solid's renderer is going to be the bottleneck. As I said, it's quite fast in simple benchmarks. It's several times faster than most of the competition. So yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm glad I got to be able to show that off though, and that gives me a direction for the PR. And I feel like I have a much better understanding of how Astro works, and hopefully you all have a better understanding of Astro and Solid. As you can see already, even with this, there's a lot of different things you can do, and these are the kind of considerations I have to take in when working through the problem space. I just love the fact that we have this ability to have a multi-page app here and be able to have that experience with Solid so easily. Obviously, I hit that weird node fetch issue, and we'll have to figure out what's going on here. But as I've shown it, like this does work, right? And you can fully leverage the capabilities of Solid within Astro. Obviously, this example is not great in that. I mean, it's not the worst. What's great about this example is that, and then maybe this is the one reason why to keep it in async rendering mode, is that you have this ability to kind of like use Solid's like suspense and all the mechanisms here to completely render your page. The only thing is this is still sort of single page app yet. I saved myself from rendering the header, but I still this whole app that I'm drawing here is just what do I call it? It is just a single island. Yeah, see, this is we're talking about it. See, it only shows loading when I do this. We actually have to. The way I have it right now. It's actually doing client load. Basically, this is not. This is what happens when you convert your current single page app. This is probably not the best way to use Astro. It isn't bad. Like if you have a list component, and that's what we have here, it does the trick. But where you're really going to see benefit here is rethinking how you approach apps. Like, truthfully, for this use case, if you're intending to keep things mostly static, don't use Solid to do the data fetching. Use Astro. We didn't do this today, but use it to do its top level await, have it load, render all the pages. There's nothing on this page that required you to use Solid, realistically. Like, you could have just done this all in Astro. But then when you hit something small, interactive, a little piece on your page, then you can just put a Solid component in, and you just saved yourself so much JavaScript. Like this example was, just so I could test out the data fetching and kind of play around with an app everyone's familiar with. But realistically speaking, I wouldn't consider this the best way, right? One of the things, and I've kind of shown this off with the Marco Hackernews example, which I probably have somewhere here. Was it? This is the Solid one. Is that is that the real power of partial hydration is when you essentially have something dynamic on the page, like this one's, but I pick like the one story that has no comments, but like, see how we can expand and shrink the comments. Essentially, like this is a really cheesy one, and you could probably do this based on playing on, but that's the only interactive part on these kind of pages, right? Like if you look here, this Marco example, which is the same way I was doing a Solid, this is Grammarly. It doesn't load any JavaScript to do this, right? Like, it's funny, you can actually see the loading state in Marco, because it actually streams it in and stuff, but it doesn't need any JavaScript to do that. So that's where you can kind of go from this point to this point when oh, I need to load some JavaScript to do like a little thing. And it's that much less. That's what the benefit is here. Anyway, I think this is your last chance to get some questions in. But this is pretty much, I got what I was looking for, and I hope you guys did too. So I'm going to give you one last shot to kind of put it out there, but otherwise I'm going to call it a night. And I hope you guys, I hope you all have a great weekend. All right. Yeah, no, looks like we're at an end. All right. Thanks to everyone for joining today. It's 3 hours in. Hope people who come back home over the stream can get some value. Yeah, have a good one. I'm signing off now. See ya.